Good afternoon, everyone. I am Odchas, together with my partner Gawaen, Sokoken, and we are going to report the ISINAI tribe. First, our objectives is to know the culture of ISINAI tribe, to understand the historical backgrounds of ISINAI tribe, to explore and gain knowledge about the culture and traditions of ISINAI tribe, and to be informed on what life does the ISINAI tribe have. Our contents is introduction, culture and traditions, social structures, economic subsistence, challenges and issues faced by the ISINAI tribe, current initiatives and developments, perspectives and voices, resources and further reading, visuals and media, and conclusion. First, we're going to introduce the background of ISINAI tribe. Based on historical backgrounds, ISINAI tribe were formerly known as Inmares or Malates. These ISINAI are small ethnic group living in the municipalities of Bambang and Dopak Glosor in Quirino province. Their ethnic communities show a decline in population with only around 12,600 members on record. It is a concern that warrants attention from within and outside the communities. There may be members who are trying their best to keep their practices intact, preserve their culture. However, with numerous ethnic groups on the edge of losing their communities' practices across the entire country, organizations' works are simply baby steps for now. As the ISINAI numbers decreases, their language is also threatened. With fewer speakers of their language, the remaining members of the community need to learn it and appreciate the language to preserve and their distinct lifestyle. Next is we're going to the origin of ISINAI tribe. The ISINAI tribe is primarily located in the Philippines. It is known for its rich cultures and heritage. Historically, they have been agrarian, relying on farming and fishing for their survival. Oral traditions reveal that the ISINAI people have deep connection to their ancestors, often emphasizing community and bloodlines. They believe their origins are linked to ancient migrations, which brought them to the mountainous regions of northern Luzon. Today, the ISINAI continue to preserve their unique traditions and languages, reflecting the resilience and connection to their past. Colonial and post-colonial. First, we go to the colonialism. Colonialism significantly impacted the ISINAI tribe by disrupting their traditional agricultural practices and introducing new governance systems during Spanish rule. Missionary efforts aimed at conversion altered their spiritual beliefs and led to changes in cultural practices. The implementation of private land ownership made smaller communal land use, pushing many ISINAI into wage labor and weakening their social structures. In the post-colonial era, government policies often marginalized the tribe, limiting their access to resources and representation. Recent movements for cultural preservation and land rights highlight the ISINAI's ongoing efforts to reclaim their identity and autonomy.
So now let's move on to the culture and traditions of the ISINAI tribe. Traditional practices. Patayay. This is their way before marrying the girl you want to marry, in which the man sent a letter to the lady's parent expressing his intent to marry their daughter. This patayay was wrapped in a white embroidered handkerchief together with betel nut chew, cigarettes, tobacco, and wine. It was delivered by a couple chosen to their persuasive skills and for their willingness to accept the responsibility of advising the couple to be married. In the girl's house, the patayay was opened and read as those present partook of the wine, the cigarettes or tobacco. and the betel nut shoe. The girl's parent discussed between them and the relative whether or not to accept the proposal. If they accepted, matter concerning the la'ar, the ritual formalizing the marriage proposal, were decided, such as the food to be served to the guests, the ambassadors or go-betweens of the two parties, and the date of the la'ar. The la'ar was always done at night to ensure the availability of the guest. Regional practices are referred to as involving the purong. The announcement of the purong is accompanied by a ritual attended by parents, relatives, and friends. During this gathering, guests offered a prayer to the souls of the dead relatives of the host. Food such as rice, wine, rice cake, and meat was served to the people after the meal. The agreement was revealed to everyone. This public announcement was done so that whoever backed out of the agreement would be required to shoulder all the expenses incurred on the day of the purong. Arts and crafts. The main traditional art form of ISINAI tribe is the Kinutian fakrik. It is a cloth that weaved. The ISINAI is good in weaving, especially in Dupak's Delshur, which is called weaving heritage. It is same with the fabric in Mindanao called tinalak, that is made of uwapina, local term in Dupak Sur, or we call it as abaka. For the clothing, the ISINAI have an international blanket called Uwis Pinutuan. The men's clothing is called tinonwe or indong, and the women's skirt is called ayin. These clothing were all woven in a backstrap loom. These textiles were made of pure cotton and were dyed by indigo. To create the colors of the designs, generally white and red, the weavers used the ikat method, in which they tie-dye the warp and weft threads before weaving the design into the textile. In the ikat method, the cotton warps, either in their natural color or bleached white, are tied at regular intervals before these are dyed and then woven into blankets or loincloths. The ISINAI were considered the best weavers of the Uwis Pinutuan, used as funerary blanket or shroud in the Cordillera regions.
We go on to the social structures. Family and kinship. The ISINAI society is organized into kinship-based clans called balangay. Each balangay is led by a patriarch or elder who is responsible for making decisions and resolving disputes within the clan. The barangays come together to form a larger organization known as an apu, which represents the collective interest of the ISINAI people. Next is we go on to the community life of ISINAI tribe. The indigenous farming system of the ISINAI were both wet agriculture with the use of an irrigation system and kaingin cultivation. In Dupax del Sur, the ISINAI planted seeds in individually owned seed beds. They used a sharpened stick to make holes into which the rice seedlings were transplanted manually. After transplanting, they built tanang or paddy dikes. Fields were flooded with water for 4 to 5 months to guard their plants from tulin, brown rice birds, and dama black rice birds. They put up scarecrows called tinahutaho. A variation of the tinahutaho was the owu, which made a rotting sound like the Benguet clappers. For harvesting, the ISINAI used a rice knife called gamlang to cut the rice stalks. Each harvester tied his or her own simboto and would leave them in the fields to dry for about 3 weeks. These then were stacked into conical piles and were left there for a month before being taken to the iyang or granary. Next is we go to the economy and subsistence. First is the traditional economy. The traditional economy of ISINAI tribe is hunting and fishing, agriculture, trade. Hunting and fishing is hunting local wildlife and fishing in nearby rivers and streams. This provides a crucial source of protein and supports for their diet. For the agriculture, they practice subsistence farming, cultivating crops such as rice, corn, and root vegetables. Their agricultural methods often include shifting cultivation, where land is cleared and used for a few seasons before moving to a new area. In that way, the ISINAI historically engaged in barter with neighboring tribes, exchanging goods like handmade crafts and agricultural products. This trade networks help them acquire resources not readily available in their environment. We go on to the modern economic activities. These are the commercial agriculture, employment opportunities. First is the commercial agriculture. There has been a shift towards more commercial farming practices, growing cash crops like fruits and vegetables for sale in local markets. This transition is driven by the demand for agricultural products beyond subsistence needs. For the employment opportunities, many ISINAI seek employment in nearby towns or cities, working in various sectors such as construction, retail, and services. This migration has altered traditional family. Next is the structures and economic dynamics. We have integration of technology and tourism and cultural preservation. Integration of technology, the introduction of modern agricultural tools and techniques has increased efficiency in farming. Additionally, access to the internet and mobile technology has opened new avenues for marketing their goods. For tourism and cultural preservation, some members of the tribe have turned to cultural tourism, offering experiences that showcase their traditional way of life, crafts, and rituals, providing an alternative source of income while promoting cultural heritage.
Let's now move on to the challenges and issues faced by the ISINAI tribe. First, which are the land rights, cultural preservation, and health and education. Land rights, land ownership. The ISINAI tribe faces ongoing issues related to the land ownership and ancestral domain. Their traditional lands are often encroached upon by outsiders, including logging companies, agricultural developers, and settlers. This encroachment disrupts their traditional way of life, which is heavily reliant on the land or subsistence farming, gathering resources, and maintaining their cultural practices. Displacement. The ISINAI tribe has been displaced from their ancestral land due to land grabbing, logging, and mining activities. This displacement not only disrupts their livelihood but also disconnects them from their cultural heritage, which is deeply intertwined with the land. Conservation. The ISINAI tribe is deeply connected to the natural environment and plays a crucial role in its conservation. However, deforestation, mining, and other unsustainable practices threaten the ecological balance of their ancestral lands. This poses a significant risk to their traditional livelihoods and the overall health of the environment. Cultural preservation. Language loss. The ISINAI language, ISNAG, is facing extinction due to the influence of dominant languages like Tagalog and Ilocano. Younger generations are increasingly adopting these languages, leading to a decline in the use of ISNAG. This loss of language threatens the transmission of cultural knowledge, stories, and traditions. Erosion of traditional practices. The ISINAI tribe's traditional practices, such as their unique courtship rituals, songs, dances, and folklore are being lost due to the influence of modern lifestyle and the lack of active transmission to younger generations. This erosion of cultural heritage weakens the tribe's sense of identity and connection to their ancestors. Effort to preserve. The ISINAI tribe is actively involved in efforts to preserve their cultural heritage. They are working with organizations and culturals to document their traditions, teach their language, and promote their cultural heritage. Health and education. For the access to healthcare, the ISINAI tribe faces disparities in access to healthcare compared to the general population. They often lack access to basic medical facilities, qualified healthcare professionals, and essential medicines. This lack of access can lead to higher rates of illness, disease, and mortality. For the education, the ISINAI tribe faces challenges in accessing quality education. They may lack access to schools, qualified teachers, and educational resources. This lack of education can limit their opportunities for economic advancement and social mobility. Social services. The ISINAI tribe may face difficult accessing the other social services such as clean water, sanitation, and electricity. These disparities can contribute to their marginalization and vulnerability.
So let's go on to current initiatives and developments. First is the advocacy and representation. ISINAI Federation. The ISINAI tribe has formed a federation to advocate for their rights and representation. This federation works to address issues related to land rights, cultural preservation, and access to resources. Next is the national and international organizations. The ISINAI tribe is seeking to engage with national and international organizations to raise awareness about their challenges and advocate for their rights. They are working with organizations that focus on the indigenous people rights, cultural preservation, and sustainable developments. Next is the community projects. We have the language revitalization. The ISINAI tribe is actively involved in language revitalization programs. They are working to promote the use of Isnag in schools and communities and to encourage younger generations to learn the language. Next is the cultural preservation initiatives. The ISINAI tribe is undertaking initiatives to document and preserve their traditional knowledge, customs, and practices. This includes collecting oral histories, recording songs and dances, and creating cultural archives. Next is the community development projects. Local government units and organizations are working with the ISINAI community to implement development projects that address their needs and promote their economic well-being. These initiatives aim to improve access to education, healthcare, and livelihood opportunities. Go now to perspectives and voices. First is the interviews. We have two elements here. First is the elder and the youth. Elder is our language is dying. The younger ones don't speak it anymore. They only know Tagalog and Ilocano. How can we teach them our stories, our songs, our traditions if they don't understand our language? Next is the youth. I want to learn more about my culture, but it's hard. We don't have many opportunities to learn about our traditions. I wish there were more schools that teach Isnag and our cultural practices. Number 3 is the leader. We are fighting for our land rights. Our ancestors have lived here for generations. We need to protect our forests and our way of life. We can let outsiders take what is rightfully ours. Let's go now to external views. We have 3 elements, which is that researcher, anthropologist, and NGO representative. Researcher. The ISINAI tribe is facing a critical juncture. Their language, cultural practices, and land rights are under threat. It's imperative to support their efforts to preserve their heritage and to address the inequalities they face. Anthropologists. The ISINAI tribe has a unique and valuable cultural heritage. Their traditional knowledge systems, particularly in agriculture and resources management, offer valuable lessons for sustainable development. NGO representative. We are working with the ISINAI tribe to empower them to advocate for their rights and to access resources and opportunities. We believe that indigenous communities have a vital role to play in shaping a more just and sustainable future.
Let's now move on to the resources and further reading. For the book and articles, the ISINAI or Inmis people of the Philippines. History, culture, customs, and traditions. This website provides a comprehensive overview of the ISINAI tribe's history, culture, and traditions. ISINAI by CSU is by museum. This website offers information about the ISINAI tribe's cultural practices, including their traditional clothing, music, and dance. Indigenous peoples in the Philippines, exploring their cultural status and challenges by Native Tribe Info. This article discusses the challenges faced by indigenous peoples in the Philippines, including the land rights, cultural preservation, and economic development. For the organizations, first, the ISINAI Federation. The ISINAI Federation is the primary organization representing the ISINAI tribe. Contact information can be found through local government offices or NGOs working in the region. Second, the Indigenous Peoples Rights Act or the IPRA Council. This council is responsible for implementing the IPRA, which recognizes the rights of indigenous peoples to their ancestral domains and cultural heritage. For the third, the Cordillera People Alliance or the CPA. The CPA is a national organization that advocates for the rights of indigenous peoples like the ISINAI in the Cordillera region, which includes the ISINAI group. Let's move on to the visuals and media. For the photographs and maps. Photographs can be found in the images depicting ISINAI people in their traditional attire, engaging in cultural practices, or working on their farms can be found on the websites like yodosphere.com, Ethnic Groups of the Philippines, and CSU East Bay Museum. For the maps showing the geographical location of the ISINAI tribe's ancestral domain can be found on websites like Google Maps or Wikipedia. Audio and video. Recordings of ISINAI traditional music can be found on websites like YouTube or SoundCloud. Videos documenting ISINAI ceremonies such as harvest festivals or ancestral rituals may be available on websites like YouTube or Vimeo. Interviews with ISINAI tribe members can be found on websites like YouTube or Vimeo.
For our conclusion, the ISINAI tribe, indigenous to the Philippines, primarily inhabits the mountainous regions of Nueva Vizcaya and Quirino. Known for their rich cultural heritage and traditional practices, they have a strong connection to their ancestral lands and a deep understanding of their environment. Efforts to preserve their language and traditions are ongoing as modernization and external influence pose challenging to their way of life. That's all for our report.